Okay, hello everyone. It's now 6 o'clock on June the 8th. I call this meeting of the Santa Fe Independent School District to order. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members present virtually. This meeting has been duly called and its notice has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. A couple of points of order. First agenda item that I have before we actually start the workshop is we have to offer a public comment on the agenda items, but there were no one that had signed up to offer any public comments. So we are going to move on and actually start our workshop. I guess at this point in time, first, let me say thank you to those that have joined us for this presentation. We did get to look at some of the information you're going to present previously, and I'm sure there'll be some questions. This is an open workshop. All the board members are able to ask questions as need be, and we can have as much discussion as needs to take place. There will be no decisions made tonight after this discussion. That will all have to take place in a separate meeting, in a separate posting. With that, I would like to introduce Megan Grove. Megan, I see you're on here. And I would ask you if you want to introduce your team or just get started, however you want to do your presentation. But thank you, ma'am, for taking the lead in this. Thank you for reaching out to us and helping set the meeting up, and most especially being understanding with all that's gone on with COVID-19 and not being able to get together in person. I know it's frustrating for you and your team. It's been frustrating for us, but we've managed to do a lot of work virtually, and so we're going to make an attempt at this now. So with that, ma'am, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Norman. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Design Concept at this workshop this evening on June 8th. I will try to share my screen. Can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am, you have the option to.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
One moment.
Well, while he's trying to transition the screen sharing, I'll go ahead and just briefly take you through the agenda I'm going to talk about this evening. So first, I'll go through introductions. I'll briefly review the formation of our foundation, provide an overview of the design process, some memorial design precedents that influenced or inspired our design, the design inclusion criteria, and then I will go into detail on the concept design that we're presenting today.
You should have the ability to screen share now.
There it goes. So I'd like to introduce this evening our board of directors, which is comprised of family members, community directors, and school teachers, coaches, and counselors. Shannon Clausen, Christian Riley Garcia's mother, Gail McLeod, Kyle McLeod's mother, Rosie Stone, Chris Stone's mother, Robin Treat, Angelique Ramirez's mother. Community directors are Carolyn Adams, Carol Gaylord, Megan Grove, that's me, Mandy Jordan. We also have with us Jared Faust and Beth Yorlano. Other members and district support include Sadie Bays, Shayna Fisher's mother, DJ Clausen, Christian Riley Garcia's father, Jolene Cogburn, Sabika Sheik's host mother, Steve Perkins, Ann Perkins' husband, Mercedes Stone, Chris Stone's sister, Jennifer Tisdale, Cynthia Tisdale's daughter-in-law. And I'd like to note that all 10 families were invited to participate at their own comfort level. Other members include Nicole Harris, Steve Rose, and we've been supported by district employees Bob Atkins, Patty Hansard, Rachel Harris, and Sandra Zerain. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Jason Logan, Principal, Lojo Architect, and Adjunct Professor at University of Houston for introduction of the design studio team.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot. A lot of people are mic'd, or mics are turned off. Just want to say on behalf of Professor Patrick Peters and the students, thank you for allowing us to be here. And I'd like to introduce our students who have worked. We've been really fortunate to have such a good group of students this semester, and I just would like to introduce them to you this evening. So this semester, we had 8 graduate students who were working with us in the design studio and collaborating with the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation. And those students are Vanessa Beckett, Monse Bribiesca, Hannah Hemmer, Brian Liu, Joshua Rodriguez, Paris Sirico, Tiffany Tai, and Courtney Warren Williams. And let's see, Hannah and Courtney are here this evening and will make some comments, I believe. And then our other students are either watching via Zoom or through Facebook and other ways in which it's being broadcast. So thank you for allowing us to be here this evening.
Thanks, Jason. So briefly, just to give you some background on the formation of the foundation. So about a year ago, shortly after the 1-year anniversary, it was clear that our group needed a renewed focus and direction and clarity on how we plan to achieve our mission. And it was at this point that we transitioned from a general committee into an official independent nonprofit 501c3 with the help of University of Houston's Law Center, Entrepreneurship and Community Development Clinic under the directorship of Christopher Hurd, and students also in the law program there. We officially incorporated and became a foundation on November 15th, 2019. And while our infrastructure may have changed, our mission did not. And the mission of the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation is to design and build a memorial that remembers, honors, and celebrates those who died and all individuals impacted on May 18th, 2018. So briefly, a timeline that led us to today's meeting. This design process has required hundreds of hours of thought, care, and debate among foundation members and directors. This memorial is deeply personal to many of the individuals in this room or on this call who have strong feelings about what the memorial should represent. There are no simple answers to many of the questions that we asked of each other each day, but our objective throughout the process was to stay focused on our overall vision to honor the 10 while listening and respecting each other's viewpoints in order to find a compromising solution. So between July 2019 to December 2019, there was a lengthy research of existing memorials and design precedents, which included everything from materials, timelines, symbolism, site location, and cost. By January of 2020, the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation had designed or come up with the inclusion concepts that we felt were important to this community and particularly to the families. We entered the collaborative design process from January to March of 2020. And the final concept design that I'm going to show you this evening was approved by the Board of Directors on March 19th, 2020. And then I actually just picked up the final renderings and models today. Due to COVID, we couldn't get back into the building, but those will be available for future viewing. So the design precedents that we thought of, we set our bar rather high. When everybody thinks of a memorial, I'm sure the first ones they think of are the 9/11 memorials. This memorial cost over $700 million. And we're not going to have that kind of budget, but the thought and care that went into what we designed for the Santa Fe 10 Memorial is very similar to a national level memorial, from including powerful and thought-provoking quotations to recognizing each as an individual, but also collectively. And so we also reviewed the Flight 93 Memorial in Pennsylvania, We took care to look at the materials used, how they were staged, how they were incorporated and blended together, how they displayed quotes so that when visitors came and viewed the memorial, they left with a very powerful feeling of what our intention for the memorial is. We also reviewed the Pentagon Memorial, taking care to look at how names are ordered, how do they display benches, that sort of thing. We also looked at the Oklahoma City National Memorial for other just incorporations of artistic pieces, how they display quotes or dedication text, including timing and date of the incidents. Importantly, as you heard me say earlier, Miss Carolyn Adams is also on this committee, and we took great care to review the Aggie Bonfire Memorial because her daughter Miranda Adams is memorialized here, and we drew a lot from experience and inspiration of that process as well. And then we also looked at the West Fallen Heroes Memorial, which is in West Texas, for the first responders that died in the fertilizer plant explosion there. We also looked at other school memorials, including the Columbine Memorial, the Sandy Hook Memorial, which isn't yet built as well. And we reviewed fountains and sculptures, such as the Princess Diana Memorial Fountain and the Kindred Spirit sculpture in Ireland, which represents 9 feathers. They are all unique and not identical to each other. And after our review process, we came up with the following inclusion concepts. We wanted to make sure there was seating area with benches so that people could just sit and meditate, or also just sit and have a private moment with the individual that they came to pay remembrance to. We wanted to ensure that 10 monuments with personalized info would be customized by the families. We agreed on the name, the Santa Fe 10 Memorial. We also had a quotation contest, which I'll present the results here shortly, through a community contest, because we very much wanted this to be a community engagement project. We want to ensure that we have strong foundation and use strong materials that will last decades to come. Of course, we want to include lighting, landscaping, drainage. We want to allow space for mementos, which we know will be left at the memorial. We wanted to have parking, including ADA access. We wanted to be very careful and considerate of avoiding any re-traumatization. We wanted to include artistic components, such as a warrior statue from local artists. We wanted to incorporate symbolism. Many of the families said early on they did not want it to be called Santa Fe Strong Memorial or have any text related to that phrase. We wanted to also include barcodes or links back to our website so that people can review the memorial brochure or get more information with their smartphones as they're walking through the memorial. We will also have a dedication area, donor plaque space, and it was important that the memorial was large. We wanted there to be verticality. We wanted it to be unlike any other memorial in the world. And so that when people drive down Highway 6, they know who it represents. We also wanted to have May 18th, 2018 embedded on the walkway. And then of course, we will incorporate a security system to protect the site from vandalism. We also thought about noise reduction, since it is going to be near the highway, the site that we've selected. And also, of course, we wanted to allow for a voluntary student artistic piece should people want to participate. So with that said, I'll jump right into the memorial design. So the location that we have proposed is right in front of the school, between the teardrop and the main driveway in the middle. And oh, sorry, I went too far. It was important to us that after the tragedy, we provide a community memorial where all individuals impacted could have a thoughtful and respectful place of reflection. We want each journey of each visitor to be their own. to provide a place for healing and remembrance and resiliency that would be captured in this overall plan. And as I stated, it's intended to be built on sacred ground and visible from Highway 6. As we went through the process, one of the concepts that struck us was the importance or symbolism of the sacred infinity loops, and the entire geometry plan of the site is built off this concept, as you can see from the drawing on the left. And briefly, the overall site plan is, you can see the main drive on the left. Highway 6 is at the bottom. You can see the memorial site. Santa Fe High School here is in the background. I actually don't know if you can see my mouse or not.
Yes,
You can, okay, good. And then as part of the memorial, we have proposed that the Indian or warrior statue would be placed here in this little courtyard. And then this infinity loop here is the meditative grove. The sacred space would be here with an earth berm surrounding it. And then here's Highway 6. Here's the regular visitor parking, but we are also proposing to include 4 spaces, 1 handicap access, so that individuals will be able to pull in directly, visit the memorial, and leave without having to disrupt the flow of activities around the school. So here's an overview of the Meditative Grove site plan. Here's the parking lot that I just showed you. The identity bench would be on the left of the entrance and the donor bench on the right. There's meditative benches placed throughout the grove. There's 19 trees proposed in the space at this time. There's a gravel pathway and then also a paved path to allow for ADA access into the sacred space. And then the Santa Fe High School student-led piece, it's this exact positions to be determined, but we're thinking of placing it somewhere along the meditative grove closest to the school. So the entrance itself is just under 1,900 square feet. The identity bench on the left is 3 feet tall, 25 feet wide, and 3 feet deep. The backside would allow us to engrave names of such as the designers or the contractors or construction team. On the right-hand side would be a donor bench, and that's where we would have space to engrave those benefactors or donors that provide significant amount of contributions to the design and build. And then you'll notice there's actually 2 entrances to the location. There's also an entrance from the teardrop side so that people would be able to enter from either side. So the meditative grove is about 16,500 square feet. When one first enters the memorial through the meditative grove, this never-ending loop allows one to enter the space intended for reflection and to prepare oneself for entrance into the sacred space. Here it's intended that both the survivors and the community come together in an interwoven infinite loop that symbolizes the everlasting legacy and spirit of the 10. As you proceed towards the sacred space, there is an earth berm which embraces that area where the 10 monuments will stand. On the outer berm, which is the south side, we propose to include a wildflower pocket prairie that breathes life and color back into the community. On the north side, it will be lined with the limestone riprap, which represents the strength and support for the families of the fallen and the survivors. So the overall site plan for the sacred space is a retaining wall that encompasses the entire area, a dedication area, a continuous bench that allows for seating all the way around, the date threshold, which you'll step over into the sacred space, a center stone, the 10 personalized monuments, and the 10 unique rising feathers. So at the gateway to the entrance, the retaining wall is about 3 feet, 11 inches tall. The width to the entrance is 5 feet. So importantly, when you're ready to visit the sacred space, the path in the meditative grove will actually begin to narrow. And along the right side of the wall is where you'll read our dedication text. And on the left side is where we have the phrase, "We come here to remember." And then as you walk over the threshold, the date, May 18th, 2018, will be carved in stone and inlaid in the ground as you step over that threshold. So the sacred space itself is over almost 13 feet in diameter. And once you come into the sacred space, it's an open room created of natural earth. It's a room of remembrance where the 10 monuments to honor each of the individuals lost, and it symbolizes this central void, which can never be filled. So as you travel through this space at your own pace, the goal is that you will come to know the 10 that lived and will continue to live on in the hearts of many in the Santa Fe community. So the center stone will be made of black granite, and it's over 7 feet diameter. And the inspirational phrase selected from the community quotation contest was defined not by a day, but instead by the strength within us. This was chosen from more than 50 submissions and will be engraved in the central void of the sacred space. So each of the rising feathers will stand on their own. They're 15 feet high and about 4 feet 6 inches wide. Each of the concrete monoliths will hold a uniquely shaped feather for each individual, which will be folded by the age, birthplace, and hometown coordinates in degrees, latitude, and longitude, creating a monument that's unique and unlike any other in the world. And here's just an overview of each of the 10 feathers. You can see we've provided a front view, a top view, and a side view representing each of the 10 unique individuals. So personalization was an important aspect to the families, and we've allotted over 5 square feet of space that will be etched on black granite. And this will be entirely up to the family members. They can fill this area as much or as little as they'd like with mementos, quotes, pictures, scriptures, whatever they want visitors to remember about their individual's life and how they impacted others with kindness, compassion, and courage. Importantly, we also wanted to create a private or intimate space so people could come and sit without the traffic running by, but also we wanted to provide or prevent or avoid as much as we could any re-traumatization. So that's one of the reasons we built the berm around the outer wall of the sacred space. It helps with the noise reduction, but it also gives an individual a choice to come and sit and reflect whenever they're ready. It also builds a private space though, where individuals can just sit and reflect and remember the loved one that they're there to see that day. So the 2 artistic pieces that we plan on incorporating is a warrior statue, which will be designed and built by a local artist. We are working on size and materials that are to be determined. It will depend on budget. Also, we will be inviting the class of 2021 and any former students that may want to voluntarily participate in building a concept of this unfillable chair. This is one of the concepts that we reviewed in the process, but it didn't quite make it into the final concept design. And we thought it would be a good way to allow students to participate if they so choose. And Jared Faust and Brandon Noto are going to help organize this effort. So here's an example of how we plan to incorporate information into the memorial. We're going to embed these barcodes that can be scanned with your smartphones that will pull up key or important pieces of information and symbolism as a visitor walks through the memorial. And eventually we've talked about adding like an audio tour and things like that, but those will be developed in the future. As far as the engraving, text to be engraved in the memorial will be finalized by the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation Board of Directors at a later date, probably prior to starting construction. At this point, we're just asking more for approval of the concept. So we have not finalized the actual dedication text, what we're going to put on the back of the donor bench or the identity bench, or what is exactly going to go on the monuments. So the lighting, we will have lighting all around the meditative grove. There will also be lighting around the bench area, and there will be recessed lighting both in front of the feather and in back of the feather where the personalized areas are. And you can see that each monument will stand over 17 feet tall. Of course, drainage was incorporated into the plan. I'm not a drainage expert, so hopefully you don't have any questions for me about that. I'll address those to Patrick and Jason. But of course, drainage is considered. That was actually part of the reason why we chose that area, because we can tie into the drainage and that part of the property does not flood, you know, considering and compared to other areas. As far as security, we will have security. It's not here as part of the concept design, but once we finish fundraising and come back before the board to present the final donation proposal, we'll have a detailed security system plan incorporated at that time. So in brief, the budgets, the startup fees to date have been all paid by the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Board members of approximately $2,000. The nonprofit setup was all donated. Its in-kind value was estimated at $12,500. We are getting help with intellectual property in order to protect the interests of the families in the foundation. That in-kind value has been estimated at $20,000. The architectural design and bid-ready renderings are valued at $60,000. And the plan then is for us, the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation, to begin fundraising to pay for the construction. We estimate that soft costs are going to be about $300K. This will include the soil testing, the strength testing of the concrete, the architectural services for an architect to prepare the construction drawings, and other engineering services. One thing I would like to note is the design and renderings that we have at the moment, we do still need to have a structural engineer take a look at them. The hard costs have been estimated at about $800,000, which will include expenses for the actual construction, the labor, materials, any site mobilization, contractor overhead, the security system, and the materials for building the statue and the student-led piece. So currently we estimate the memorial will cost a little bit over $1.1 million. So we will have a construction committee comprised of Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation members. Bob Atkins and his team, of course, will be a part of that committee. The contractor that we select on behalf of the Santa Fe 10 Memorial Foundation using the standard SF-ISD bidding process. And then, as I noted, we just want to make sure that we have a structural engineer come in and review the plans. For maintenance, once the memorial is presented as a donation and built on the school property, we anticipate that SF-ISD maintenance and operations will take over. We have purposefully designed a memorial with minimal maintenance, comprised of just typical lawn care, pressure washing, and utility bills. We will also consider, though, collecting the mementos periodically, and these will be given back to the families. So with that said, I encourage you, if you have any further questions after tonight's meeting, you can visit our website at www.sf10, that's spelled out 10, memorial.org. We also have a Facebook page, and you can follow us there at SF10 Memorial. I'd also just like to say, we're deeply grateful for the support that we've received from the Santa Fe community, particularly from the family members who have participated in this process. The collaboration with the U of H faculty and students to design this beautiful memorial, which, I believe will stand as a testament to what we can all achieve when people work together for a common purpose. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Megan, I have one initially. What was the conversation amongst your team? At what point in time you start fundraising, and at what point in time then would you come back expecting final approval of everything from the board? I mean, if we give you approval for the design concept, that kind of gets you started, and then at some point in time you're gonna fundraise and see how much of this you can make become reality.
Correct.
And, have y'all discussed any kind of timeline along that? I know that's a difficult one right now, but just any early on projections?
So early on, we wanted to fundraise for 1 to 2 years. But with COVID, we realized that may not be a realistic expectation. So you're right. Unfortunately, at this point, because of the economy, I have no prediction on how long it will take us to get the money, or we are going to ask for donation of materials. So when we finally have it together, that with either materials donated and money donated, we can formally go through the bid process, select a contractor. That's when we will come back to you, the Board of Trustees, with a formal, refined donation proposal.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from any other board members? Any other points anyone wants to make?
It's unbelievable. I mean, that y'all did a phenomenal job. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Good work.
Thank
you,
you.
James.
This is Eric Davenport, and I agree with what Mr. Grassmunk has just mentioned, that and my vision of things, we're not even close to what y'all just put in front of us. I think that the level of detail, the level of patience that y'all probably put in, hours and everything else, it just goes to show what this is going to be so wonderful to the Santa Fe 10. So my hat goes off to everybody that has a hand in this, and as best that I can do, and rest of my peers and everything else, I'm willing to do each and everything possible to make this happen. So you have my full support.
Thank you.
So Megan, we're going to discuss, there's some things that we have to look at from a legal standpoint and a financial standpoint of things that the district can and cannot do. But at some point, we're going to have an agenda item to approve this design concept. In my mind, the biggest part of that, not just the design itself, but it's going to be landing that location, because once we do that, then anything further that we may be looking at, expanding the school, things like that, that have absolutely nothing to do with the memorial piece, that ground would then be locked in. So I think that, is that one of the things that y'all are really looking for initially as well, or am I missing something?
So the site location and just the concept of the design. And we purposefully designed the area not to interfere with any existing construction that we knew about. So for example, we knew that you guys were going to be redoing the driveways in that area, but that's all we knew about at that time.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the other board members?
I do not have any.
I don't have any
Okay.
questions either, but excellent job, very impressive in the detail.
I don't have any, but again, I repeat everybody else. Thank you for the work you did.
Well,
Yes,
there is
thank
no
you all
doubt-
for what you've done. Really good job.
There is no doubt that this was a monumental task. And so Megan, early on after the 18th of May, 2018, we did have some folks and some companies that had reached out to the school with some interest in what were we going to do with a memorial. And of course, at that time, our focus was on, getting our hands around at what had happened and getting the kids back together and all those things. So while a memorial was important, it wasn't anything that the district took on initially to try to arrange funds or to tell people where to send those funds and all that. So I'm hoping that some of those folks that reached out early on will reach out again now that this is really starting to come together and make it a reality.
Sure. So I would just ask if any of the board members here or remember those individuals to send them to me. Send them to the website, send them to our email address, and we'd be happy to take it from there.
We can do that. Any other comments from any of your other team members? You mentioned some may have some comments about drainage. Bob, you got anything you want to throw in there from the maintenance piece?
No, the design it's got a real low maintenance piece to it. The lighting would all be LED, which would have a low cost of operation and a high durability. So as far as that goes, drainage, we have storm drainage there. We would still need to find an architect to actually put together the construction documents and all that when they get ready to build. And we'll have to look with a civil engineer about impacts for retention, because anytime you disturb anything, they make you build retention for it. So we would look at that and see how we would encompass that into this design. And we'd probably be able to get away with our current retention and just adding onto the pond like we did with the new addition we're doing now. So I think it's a good concept. And I think it's in a good place where, that area is probably not ever been planned for future expansion because of its location with regards to drives and parking.
Right.
Is that something that we need to have someone look at sooner than later? I mean, I don't want to approve something and then they find out later down the road that, oh, well, we found out we can't do it because some engineer won't let us put it there. I mean,
No
possibility that we can run. I mean, I don't want to send them off to doing everything they need to do and then turn around and find out later down the road that we didn't have an engineer look at something.
So the civil engineer would come in and look at and figure out how much impervious cover we would need, and then calculate the amount of cubic feet of water or board foot of water, they call it, that it would have to hold. And so that calculation is probably not that big because most of it's still grass. Most of it's not impervious. It's not a big concrete area. The biggest, two areas are the inner circle and then the parking lot. So the amount of retention that would be necessary would be less than what we actually had to provide for the new addition. And the new addition, we provided roughly 400 square feet, about 3 feet deep. So it wasn't a lot. And I don't anticipate that being a big issue. So
I just don't want to give them the green light and then they find out, 8 months or a year, or 3 years down the road, oh, we can't do that, by the way.
wow.
That would be horrible.
Any other questions from any of the board members? Any other comments?
So you're telling me it's going to take 3 years to put this into reality, this concept? And if so, like I saw you had 19 trees chosen out there. Are they going to specify what type of tree to accommodate that growth over years? Because an oak tree is going to take up a lot of space. It doesn't like concrete. It starts to disrupt all the, the soil around it as well. Structure.
So that's one of the reasons the trees are actually incorporated into the gravel pathway. It's not in the concrete, or it's, distanced from the concrete. There were 2 or 3 tree types that we talked about, but one of the things that we are trying to do is, we know that people said that they would provide donations. And so we didn't want to lock ourselves into specifically one tree type just yet, because we wanted an opportunity to see if people would donate them and we didn't have to buy them. But with the architects, with other people who have worked with landscape design, such as Mandy Jordan on the Keep Santa Fe Beautiful Therapeutic Garden, we do have people that have experienced with trees. And we have, yes, narrowed it down to, the 2 or 3 that potentially they're low maintenance. There wouldn't be a lot of issues with the things you've just mentioned, Clay.
Okay. Ms. Adams, I know you've dealt with it personally. How long did it take? I guess it's not apples to apples, because it was A&M. They had a ton of alumni donating money out there. How long did it take for that concept to reality to happen?
Well, the bonfire memorial was dedicated on the 5th year anniversary, so in 2004, but it moved along pretty quickly because it was all donations from former students. The university donated the land, of course, because it's on the actual bonfire site, but it was all funded by former students. But it was on November the 18th, 2004, which was the 5th year anniversary, is the answer to your question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell you what, with y'all's design concept that y'all just presented, I would not be surprised if y'all do not have much trouble fundraising at all. I mean, I might be wrong and have high hopes, but I have high hopes that it's going to go a lot better and a lot quicker than y'all think it is.
Myself.
Because what y'all just presented is top notch.
So
Yes, it is.
I'm going to ask a question. Should, obviously fundraising of not only donations, but also of materials and things of that nature. Should somebody come forward with a donation of material before the memorial is set to begin construction, does the school have capacity to store said material until that time?
It's funny you asked that question, because I planned on asking that to Bob tomorrow morning.
So it depends on the material and what it is, on whether or not we have the room to store it. So it kind of would depend on that. And whether or not it needs to be inside or outside, conditioned, unconditioned. So we would have to take that on an almost case basis for donation.
And I should mention that the U of H team has provided the materials list. It's very detailed, and it's just not up on our website yet, of course, because we were waiting to get through this phase of the project before posting the list, so that people could come in and view the list and hopefully have materials that they could donate. And I'm not sure if that was presented to you guys, but I'm happy to forward it if you'd like to see it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank y'all.
Well, you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're extremely grateful for the work of the committee and all the team and the U of H support behind, and then all the community support as well. So I couldn't agree more. It's very impressive, and the dedication and the commitment, and then the beautiful outcome is something we'll all look forward to seeing come to fruition. So thank you again. We're blessed to have a strong team to help us create something that's truly honorable and memorial. Thank you.
So just in closing from me, I would like to ask, I know you mentioned you might have to have some further discussion, but I am hoping and would respectfully request that the agenda item on the June 15th meeting include our concept design so that we can move forward with our mission and begin fundraising.
We are going to have some discussion around some legal questions that we have to make sure we've got covered, and we're going to have those very soon. So I would hope to be able to get it on the June 15th agenda. And based on the conversation and the questions, then the things that have come from the other board members tonight, I don't see that as being a big issue, but we will get back with you. But my intention right now is to have it on the June 15th agenda.
Okay. And I'm available to answer questions in between now and then if you need additional information in order to make that happen.
Okay.
And I don't want to make a comment. If Ms. Megan, if that does not happen on the June 15th, that does not hinder us from calling a special meeting where we can have a quorum to then get you an answer a lot quicker than waiting till the July meeting as well. So, but just kind of, I didn't know if you knew that or not, but we can do that. Should the situation come to it, we can still do that very quickly after the June 15th meeting as well.
Okay, yes.
I would suggest we put it on the agenda, and if we do not have the answers we need before the meeting, then we can come back to it at a special meeting or whatever. But I mean, it's not going to hurt anything to put it on the agenda. And if we don't have our answers that we need, we can postpone the vote to a special meeting or the next meeting, whatever we have to do.
Well, as I'd stated before, that's the intention, and we have a conversation on Wednesday night. We have a conversation with attorney over some other things, and I have a few questions that this will pertain to. So I hope to have all those answers. I just didn't want to set too high of an expectation, but the intention right now is to have it on the agenda on the 15th, because no one would like to see this come to fruition any more than this board that is sitting here right now. I can tell you that. It's something that it's painful, but it's needed. And we're going to do everything we can do within our power to make it move forward and try to support the work that you've done, which is, everyone has said so far, has been tremendous, to get that out there and the message behind it and the reality of what we're trying to do and what your team in this school district and the entire community is trying to accomplish. So we can all work together on that. And I agree with, I think Mr. Grassmuck made the comment earlier, I think things are going to go along better than you might even anticipate. That's the hope. And we're going to do our part as best we can on a timeline to move you along from the school district and the control that the board has.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
May I make a comment?
Sure.
Okay, I would just like to tell y'all, we have a real jewel in Megan acting as our director over this committee. She has put in so many countless hours. I mean, it has been amazing. Our U of H support people would not have been possible had it not been for her dedication to moving this project along as quickly as we have. And I just want to say thank you to the U of H people that are here with us tonight and for your dedication. Between January and March, I can't even count the number of meetings that we had, that they drove down from Houston to Santa Fe to meet with us, and we would meet. And I, from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Adams, for those comments. Thank you for your support, as well as the other team members that are online or listening right now. Thanks for all of your hard work. Like I said, when I first got the package and looked through it, I was absolutely blown away at the amount of work and the detail that had taken place already. That's a lot of work. That's a lot to accomplish. And especially when you presented the timeline of when you actually started, that's a ton of work that got put together in a very quick timeline, in my opinion. Thank you all very much. Any other questions or comments? If not, again, I thank you for all your effort, and we have no other agenda items tonight, so I will adjourn this workshop at 6:50 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Night.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you all very much.